Hey, what's up, YouTube family? It's your favorite black guy from Nebraska. And yes, there's indeed black people here in Nebraska. I know that's a question that a lot of you guys want to know. Yes, there's black people here in Nebraska. Yesterday, I told you guys about Janis Joplin. Very interesting story. A lot to learn there. A lot of things to commit to memory. But now we're going to talk about Jimi Hendrix. I told you yesterday that there was a good possibility that I was going to create some content today that had to do with Jimi Hendrix. And what occurred with him, who was all in his life, who played a role in his demise, why his demise came like it did. So like I said, I'm out of one of my favorite books. I mean, when I first started to become conscious to everything, this is the book that opened my eyes. Drugs as Weapons Against Us, an amazing book. I recommend you go buy it. Anybody, I don't care who you are, what you look like, where you're from, what you call yourself. This book right here is an eye-opener. You need to grab it. So we're going to go ahead and continue. We're going to talk today about the man, the myth, the legend, everything above Jimi Hendrix. So let's go ahead and get started. Jimi Hendrix, drugged and murdered? In the United States, Jimi Hendrix found little fame in the mid-1960s while he toured with music legends such as Sam Cooke, who was the first black musician to produce his own records before his career was cut shortly by his murder. In 1966, Jimi Hendrix moved to England, where he would initially reach stardom. In England, a former spy, Mike Jeffrey, coerced his way into managing Hendrix. Jeffrey had worked for British MI6. Jeffrey's continued partnerships with CIA-linked figures, his sudden huge wealth, and his skills at acquiring CIA-type tax havens in the Bahamas suggest he maintained MI6 work undercover. Black artists were a particular intelligence focus because of left-wing radicalism among them. By 1968, Jimi Hendrix became popular worldwide. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. that year led to Hendrix actively supporting the Black Panthers and engaging in more radical left activism. Former Air Force Secretary Townsend Hoops said one of the government's greatest fears was the fateful merging of anti-war and racial dissension. The widely admired Jimi Hendrix aided the bridge between the predominantly white and anti-war movement and black civil rights activists. FBI and police targeting soon began against Hendrix in the United States, and other countries aided their efforts when Hendrix went abroad. Such collaboration is common through the international police group Interpol. Also, while British and U.S. intelligence collaboration is well known, at least one former MI6 agent said the CIA actually looked to his agency for guidance, as American intelligence was partly created by British intelligence. While this relationship isn't certain, it may have changed over the century. British intelligence 300-plus year head start on the CIA supports the possibility of this claim. The FBI started a closely guarded file on Hendrix and placed him on a security list of subversives to be rounded up for detainment in case of a national emergency. Police detectives began round-the-clock surveillance of Hendrix and his band. When Hendrix traveled north of the United States border, Canadian federal police arrested him at an airport claiming he transported drugs. Biographers Harry Shapiro and Caesar Glebic cited Hendrix, saying he never takes such a risk and that his manager, Mike Jeffrey, set up that airport arrest. The biographers described many ways Hendrix's manager stole from the famed guitarist and tried to sabotage him. Hendrix's biographers said that, contrary to popular belief, Hendrix produced his first classic album with virtually no drug use. Then, after getting into drugs for a while, Hendrix gave them up except for moderate alcohol and marijuana use. The media didn't give up on their manufactured image of Jimi Hendrix as a constant user of LSD. They also fabricated his having a heroin addiction. Various media sources claim Hendrix was with different women all the time. In fact, Hendrix was living with his fiancée, Monica Dannemann, when he was only 27, contradicting this image. Jimi Hendrix biographers and Monica Dannemann further claim that Hendrix manager Mike Jeffrey, who will be on the screen just a little bit, consistently sabotaged the guitar legend's political activist work. Dannemann believed Hendrix when he said he thought Jeffrey dosed his drink with a large amount of acid, before one political benefit show that caused him to end his set early. Danneman said Jeffrey and his associates had also attempted to control Hendrix by constantly giving him drugs in an accessible attempt to get him addicted. In fact, she said, in his last year of life, Hendrix spoke out against drugs in his interviews, as well as some of his songs. According to the same sources, Mike Jeffrey's mafia connections were extensive. In 1969, a mafia group kidnapped Hendrix for several days. Jeffrey gained Hendrix's freedom by purporting to have help from a large mafia family. Researchers have previously noted the CIA, the FBI, mafia links. Hendrix biographers Shapiro and Glebic believe Jeffrey set up this mafia kidnapping to intimidate Hendrix, not to fire him, as Hendrix was reportedly trying to do at the time. On another occasion, Jeffrey brought over a mafia marksman to intimidate Hendrix regarding a business deal. The Hendrix biographers also said Jeffrey's business partner band manager, Jerry Morrison was a former propagandist for a CIA supported Haitian dictator. In this picture, YouTube family, you can see that this is Jimi Hendrix and Mike Jeffrey. So let me go ahead and continue. Jeffrey controlled Jimi Hendrix in other key ways, besides just trying to keep Hendrix from participating in any political activism. Jeffrey created a concert schedule that had Hendrix crisscrossing the country from one concert to the next, leaving him exhausted with jet lag. This helped Jeffrey and others around Hendrix to more easily manipulate him and push drugs on him. When Jimi Hendrix finally fired the former MI6 agent, Hendrix was dead within 48 hours. Rumors still swirl about the manner of Hendrix's death, and none of the accounts are completely consistent. Monica Danneman reported that on September 17, 1971, the day after Hendrix finally fired Jeffrey, she found her fiancé unconscious in their London apartment bed before noon. Hendrix had been at a party that night before where people had given him pills. He showed her the handful, then flushed them down the toilet. Unable to sleep, he took multiple doses of Vesperex sleeping pills. The next morning, she went out briefly and came back to find Hendrix unresponsive. Danneman called an ambulance. Hendrix died either before arriving at the hospital or an hour after. According to different reports, while biographers Shapiro and Glebic found some discrepancies within Danneman's account of Hendrix's last 24 hours, most of their eyewitnesses' reports backed Danneman's general description. The coroner reported that when Hendrix had in him a non-fatal dose of sleeping pills, a small amount of alcohol, a trace of the barbiturates seconal, and 20 milligrams of amphetamine, shouldn't have killed him. So the official cause of death was described by one source as possibly being inhalation of vomit due to barbiturate intoxication. It is likely that at the party someone spiked Hendrix's drink with the amphetamine and possibly the seconal found in his system. Monica Danneman's memoir and Shapiro Glebic's biography described how official foul play was rife after Hendrix's death. Danneman said that when police investigated her place, they failed to take anything and warned her not to say anything about the death. An official British inquest resulted in the London coroner and inquest members declaring an open and conclusive verdict on Hendrix's death. The inquest called only 3 witnesses to testify: Danneman, Hendrix's road manager, and the coroner. They failed to have the ambulance workers, the people Hendrix saw at the party, or the hospital doctors testify. Additionally, when Danneman traveled with reporters to whom she could give her opinions about Hendrix's last 24 hours and officials foul play thereafter, someone damaged Danneman's thinking and communication by dosing her with LSD. Police also presented false information on Hendrix, backing up erroneous media reports that Hendrix was suicidal and used drugs heavily. After his death, press accounts described Jimi Hendrix as an overdosing wild man and a violent, hard-drinking, drugged-up sex maniac. Police said that on the night he died, Hendrix left a message on the answering machine of his friend and former manager, Chas Chandler, in which he said, "Help me, man." Chandler said he didn't own an answering machine. Later on, Monica Danneman came upon new and disturbing evidence. The coroner also found an unidentifiable compound in Hendrix's body. Well-respected doctors told Danneman that because the coroner waited several days to do Hendrix's autopsy, any poisons in his system might not have been in a detectable state. In 1975, the magazine Crawdaddy investigated and concluded that a death squad of undercover intelligence agents killed Hendrix. While the magazine's sources aren't known, in 1992, England's Attorney General ordered an inquiry. Scotland Yard also re-examined the case but failed to conclude that foul play occurred. Danneman, Shapiro, and Glebic easily contradicted Scotland Yard, exposing their cover-up of contradictory evidence. Scotland Yard claimed to quote Hendrix attending Dr. John Bannister, saying Hendrix was dead on arrival, dying in the ambulance or at home. The ambulance workers denied this. The hospital's official report had Hendrix's hospital arrival time as 11:45 a.m. and pronounced dead at 12:45 p.m. Danneman claimed Hendrix was alive when the ambulance workers took him from their apartment. Whether or not Hendrix was dead on arrival, what happened during that hour? Scotland Yard couldn't give Danneman an answer. When she asked what Dr. Bannister had to say about it, Scotland Yard told her he had been struck off England's official medical register of all doctors in the country without any further explanation. Wow. Mike Jeffrey confiscated all of Hendrix's recordings and belongings in his New York studio. It took 25 years for Al Hendrix to gain the rights to his son's music from Warner Records. On albums and memorabilia, Warner Records made over $100 million in sales, while Al Hendrix was only given $2 million. Dirty scoundrels. As happened in other targeted musicians' deaths, several close to Jimi Hendrix died in uncertain ways after him. Close friend Devon Wilson last saw Hendrix at the party the night before he died. Months later, she died of a reported overdose, but friends who saw the scene of her death said it looked like a violent murder. Several people sued Mike Jeffrey for money money he owed them. A judge allowed Jeffrey to travel for business during the trial, and he reportedly died in a plane crash in 1973. Because a witness only saw Jeffrey's jewelry to identify him, some believe he escaped with the shell company fortunes he amassed. Jeffrey created his tax haven shell with the same Bahamas institutions that worked earlier with William Mellon Hitchcock and later with George W. Bush's CIA and the BCCI/Iran-Contra scandal. So another piece of evidence which points to Mike Jeffries being CIA. Another Hendrix-linked death occurred much later. Monica Danneman said Jeffrey threatened to kill her if she published a memoir about Hendrix she wrote in 1971. She says she lost her book manuscript twice between 71 and 73. First to a thief she believed Mike Jeffrey sent, and then to a Jeffrey associate. In 1995, she finally published a book about Hendrix activist political plans, Jeffrey's sabotage and government cover-up. News reports said Danneman killed herself in 1996. Her close friends believe she was murdered. They said Danneman received death threats over the years and had just finished a long interview for a film on Hendrix. In 2009, new information came to light regarding Mike Jeffrey's work on behalf of British and U.S. intelligence in their orchestration of Jimi Hendrix's murder. One of Jimi Hendrix's roadies, James Tappy Wright, published a memoir, Rock Roadie. Wright claimed that Mike Jeffrey made a drunken confession in Wright's apartment one night in 1971. Wright said Jeffrey confessed to having Hendrix murdered. The emergency room doctor, John Bannister, also said that after examining Hendrix, it was plausible that Hendrix was murdered. Police investigating Hendrix's death failed to investigate Mike Jeffrey, despite Hendrix's lawyer, Henry Steingarten, and Monica Danneman knowing that Hendrix had just fired him. While it's widely reported Jeffrey formerly worked for MI6, a London Times reporter also wrote that Jeffrey flaunted his connections with organized crime and the FBI. Let me tell you something. It is scarily and very coincidental that artists die when they fire their managers. Oh my gosh, it slips me. Tupac Shakur fired his manager or fired his lawyer. He's died. He died 2 weeks later. What's Buddy's name? The king of gangster rap, Eazy-E. He fired Jeffrey Heller. Died maybe, sometime, or was diagnosed with AIDS and then died soon after that. So this is just, goes to show you that, man, these managers and these people who like I said, people who manage a lot of these artists, they work for the government. They work for the CIA or for the FBI to keep tracks on these artists. And once they're done with these artists, they kill them. That's the name of the game. It's been going on for a very, very long time, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. But hey, you know what? I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna come back with some more content about another artist. So turn your notifications on so you get my stuff. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's your favorite black guy from Nebraska. Yes, black people in Nebraska. I'm out. Peace.